Perfect love. Colossians 3, verse 1, in the King James Version reads, If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. The person you choose to spend your life with could make you better. When Christ rose from the grave, he did it for you so that you can be with him in heavenly places. Even if you live in a $20 million mansion and drive the most expensive car, heaven is still an upgrade. When Beyonce sang, "Let Me Upgrade You," Jay-Z asks, what's better than number one? God always has more in store for you. The person you date, spend your life with, should also take you to higher places. I used to be late for everything, church, work, family gatherings, etc. Sometimes my family would tell me dinner starts an hour before it really started just to make sure I was on time. When my second fiance realized I am always late, he simply asked, "Can you work on being on time?" I did get better, not perfect, but better. Colossians 3 and 2. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. Will the person you date and ultimately marry love the things of this world more than he or she loves God? If you strip away every materialistic thing, does this person still have character and values? Who am I without the titles, degrees, jewelry, cars, etc.? Will this person who wants to be a part of my life live in his or her truth and not hide behind a career or things that mask his or her true self? Colossians 3 and 3. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. Christ is the example of a husband. He died so that I could live. In marriage, each person has to make sacrifices for the relationship. I know couples who decided they wanted to further their education but had young children or just could not afford to both return to school at the same time. I've seen one spouse finish a degree, then the other starts. They took turns carrying the financial weight and taking care of the home so that the other could attend school. If both partners are seeking Christ and following the heart of Christ, they can lead each other to greater things in their individual goals and lives together. Colossians 3 and 4. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. You have heard the saying, what is mine is yours and what is yours is mine. Well, this does not apply to everything. Like my toothbrush is definitely not for your use. But when I make it, you make it. Have you noticed that married couples like Denzel Washington or Barack Obama also credit their wives for their success? Beside every good man is a better woman. She's not just better because she cheered him on, but she is better because during the journey, he also fostered her growth. It is similar to being a parent. You become a better person because you are a role model to another human being. Colossians 3 and 5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. This Bible verse will keep a lot of people out of trouble if they just obey it. It instructs us to put to death everything listed here. My mom used to say that cleanliness is next to godliness. I've never read that verse, but perhaps it is where it's drawn from. Sin separates us from God. The cost of sin is death. I go into a deeper discussion in my book, How Much Is Your Dirt Worth? I encourage you to read it. For now, let's just use porn as an example. Some use it to cope with things they don't want to deal with in real life. Watching porn releases the same chemicals in your brain as intercourse. So you may achieve a euphoric feeling or an orgasm, but you have compromised the marriage bed for a meaningless moment. If a man or woman constantly watches images of others on a screen, it devalues real intimacy. Your spouse should be the outlet for your sexual desires. The men and women on a screen cannot give you love, trust, commitment, loyalty, faithfulness, and all the things on our list from chapter 1. Remember the list you numbered 1 to 10 in importance? Is there anything in that list that sexual immorality, impurity, passion in the wrong place, or covetousness can give you? No. Sex is not wrong or bad, nor is it sin when enjoyed the way God intended. Colossians 3, verses 6 through 7. For which things' sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience, in the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. When I started my abstinence journey, I had a purity mentor. She used her umbrella to demonstrate God's protection. When it rains, if someone is walking with you and the person is holding the umbrella, you are covered as long as you walk in stride by that person's side. If you decide not to stand under the umbrella, you will be out in the rain. I will take it a little further. If you're walking with someone who's holding the umbrella and it starts really pouring rain, typically that person will also wrap one arm around you and pull you closer to protect you from the downfall. You may step across some puddles, water may splash on your legs, but you are still stepping over or walking through. Even if your foot gets wet, your heart is still protected because God is holding you closer. Remain in God's presence and obey His word. Colossians 3 and 8. But now ye also put off all things, anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Put all of these things off. It is easier to see how this verse relates to marriage. I would not want a husband who curses at me or has undealt anger issues. We all have our pet peeves. We all have trauma or experiences that shook our core. By the time you're in your 40s, life has happened. Some situations were out of our control, but how do you handle them? If your potential spouse has not taken the time to heal, that is going to show up in your relationship. It often will show up as misdirected anger and strife. I dated a guy once whose mother was abusive towards him. He was abusive towards me. He never dealt with what he experienced as a child and could not handle being with a black woman because deep down he hated all black women. This is why you need to ask your potential interest what he or she wrestles that will show up in the same or different ways in your relationship. Colossians 3:9. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge and after the image of its creator. This was the ESV version. I switched to this version instead of the King James for this verse because it is so much clearer. I dated a guy who was definitely a womanizer playboy in his younger years. Men don't realize the damage they can cause when they're sowing their royal oats. Women who play games and use men also create broken men who equate their worth to their money. If you bring your old habits into a new era, nothing has changed. If you are lying to cover up the real you, then you have not done the hard work that is necessary to be a better person. I have heard fathers say to their sons, "I know you're hitting that," referring to sex. Those same fathers would never encourage promiscuity with their daughters. Instead of encouraging behavior that is sexist, why not explain the value of a man or a woman's worth to each other? If you are used to a different person in your bed every night, how are you going to suddenly stop that behavior? You have to gain knowledge on why one person will take you further and fulfill you more than one nightstands. One reason you ask questions is because you want to see the other person for who they are, not who you imagine them to be or become. If I tell myself a lie, eventually I will believe it and convince you to believe it too. Nothing good will come of that. Lies deceive and deception hurts. We have to renew our minds daily and focus on becoming better in every area of life. That is how you develop a new you. Is the person of interest also working on improving? Some couples fall apart simply because one wants to grow and the other does not. Every day, you can become someone new, someone better than you were the day before. Can this person grow with you? Colossians 3:11. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision or uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond or free, but Christ is all and in all. Is Christ the center of your life? Will Christ be the center of your marriage? A spiritual foundation is a firm foundation. It does not matter if you marry a person who is different ethnicity, from a different country, speaks a different native language, wears a kilt or pants. What is in his or her heart? Is there love in everything they do? How does he or she treat a beggar on the street or the minimum wage waitress at dinner? How does he or she treat animals? God's handiwork is all around us. We can see God in every creation. The little things matter. Pay attention to the subtle things because they are often revealing deeper things, good and bad. This has been a selection from my book, 40 Questions Before a First Date. To finish reading this chapter, you may go to Amazon or RhondaGreen.com to purchase 40 Questions Before the First Date. Thank you for listening.